The honourable member for Halifax Needham.
My apologies, there's a lot going on. I think that this is the moment to begin great debate, late debate. Can I confirm that, Mr. Speaker?
You are correct.
I am correct. Okay, wonderful. All of a sudden I had this moment as novice Deputy House Leader of wondering if I had stood up at the right moment to do the thing that I thought I was doing. Anyhow. So it is my pleasure to bring this resolution, or to speak to this resolution brought by my colleague from Dartmouth North. 40% of Nova Scotians live in energy poverty, and I think it's one of the things that I'm noticing in our public discourse is that we're starting to specify, break down poverty into the different ways that people are experiencing poverty. I don't think until a couple of years ago I had heard the term period poverty. Yes, people experience period poverty. Yes, people experience food insecurity. Yes, people experience energy poverty. In the end, those are symptoms of overall a very unequal society where some people simply don't have enough income to make things square. To make things work in their household finances. But particularly in Nova Scotia, I think we are challenged at this moment where we know that we need to dramatically make a change, as part of a world where all of us are grappling with climate change and living its impacts, where we have a power monopoly in Nova Scotia Power. And so the challenge becomes for us, how do we regulate Nova Scotia Power in a way that enables us to make that great transition that we really must, and that is so urgent, and that young people, and not just young people, but everybody who loves those young people, are demanding of us. And so that's what the purpose is of this late debate tonight. There have been, in many ways, Nova Scotia has done some great stuff going over several governments when it comes to addressing energy poverty. And though I found it shocking in that climate change was not mentioned in the budget address, there is some good stuff kind of buried in the budget a little bit, but announced for addressing energy poverty, in particular the Energy Savings for Affordable Rentals and Homes of Mi'kmaq Peoples program, which has been doubled to $2 million under the Department of Energy. And I've highlighted that to my own constituents and said to them, talk to your landlords, because my concern is that at $2 million, that money could be spent fairly quickly. But this is a program where, the kinks have been worked on over a number of years so that energy retrofits can be done in multi-unit buildings such that the benefits don't only flow to the landlord, but that the people who actually live there also get to benefit. Because we know that that more people living in rental housing are living on low incomes than people who own their homes. And yet up until now, almost all of the province's programs related to energy efficiency have been directed at homeowners. So I think that this is like a wonderful step. I know some of the people kind of at the community level who've been advocating for it and working on it. And yet, $2 million in this province's budget seems like so little. In fact, it's the same amount. It's the same amount that the Department of Energy is going to be spending on petroleum resources. And I mean, there's other money for clean energy and a green future. But at the same time, when I look at the numbers and I see that $2 million is going to be spent on petroleum resources, which is described in the budget estimates as providing leadership for developing petroleum regimes along with strategic direction for the delivery of program initiatives and measures that support responsible petroleum resource stewardship. supporting innovation, research, and opportunities to promote, capitalize on, expand both offshore and onshore oil and natural gas exploration, development, and production. We're getting to a point, to be perfectly frank, where there will be no such thing as responsible petroleum resource stewardship, because the responsible thing is to turn the ship and to start really doing things dramatically differently for our children's future. And if you think about the challenge before us as turning around an ocean liner, well, in Nova Scotia, we're pretty small, so I envision it more as like turning around a kayak. But if anybody's ever paddled a kayak, you know that you've got the two pedals at the front that control the rudder. And increasingly, I feel like Nova Scotia is a place where we don't realize that to turn the kayak, you actually have to ease up on the left-hand pedal in order to press down on the right one. It's like we're pushing on both at the same time, continuing to do what we have done at the same time that we're starting to do something new. And so we're not actually transitioning. We're kind of just like stuck going in the same direction. And that is frustrating. And I think we're going to have to be politically brave. I think we're going to have to be politically brave and actually lead change, and by talking about the changes that we need to make and all the many good reasons why we want to do that, and also how appealing making that change can be for our, for the good of our environment, for the good of our children's future, for the good of livable communities, for the economic benefits that come with it. For all of those reasons, we actually have to be ready to press down on one pedal and let go of the other one. To speak a little bit more specifically to what that would look like in terms of our relationship with Nova Scotia Power, there has been talk in the past about performance-based regulation. How do we continue to have a power monopoly where we actually, rely on it to deliver power to our homes, and yet we don't want that to be entirely linked just to their sales of energy. We want it to also be attached to how well they're doing at reducing emissions. How reliable is our power when we know that there are increasing climate events? And also, how well are they working with Nova Scotians to actually share the wealth that comes with generating power, be it a solar panel on my roof, be it a small-scale community-owned wind power assembly, be it tidal power, all of those things. How can we actually put the incentives in place, put the regulatory framework in place so that we are incenting Nova Scotia Power to work with us and not just to make the most money that they can? Because even though they are a private company, and understandably their goal is to maximize returns for stakeholders, we need to align their interests with our interests. And our interest is for a green future, it is for reliable energy, it's for quality of service, it's for sustainability. And so that is the challenge, and I think it's the challenge that I would like to see more leadership from this government on. And I think, frankly, it's a challenge that many people, even within Nova Scotia Power, are wrapping their heads around, because this is where we're going. This is where we're going across the world as anybody who's involved in the energy sector is looking at what is coming down. Looking at what's coming over the next 20 years. So, as much as the conversation around power in Nova Scotia has been around power rates is a very, very narrow window through which to look at our power bills. We want to be looking at our power bills. We want to be looking at, when I actually see a power bill, is some of that money actually maybe going back into my community? Is some of it going into a co-op that I'm a shareholder of, that I'm a member of? There's so many more ways to look at this structure moving forward so that we get what we want out of our relationship with Nova Scotia Power. Thank you very much.
Very good.